I love the DeLorean. I think the DeLorean actually did come in a couple different door setups. They also had the outward opening doors as well, or something like that. There were, if you go back, like I say, it came out actually in like 1920s or 1930s, somewhere around there. It was a classic occult hit, you might say. It cost about the same as, say, a Lamborghini. Like when cars were costing about $5,000, I think it was like $20,000 car. It was my baby basically, and it came in either a metal frame or the solid. It was the first unibody car, but there was a problem I think with it bending a little bit in the midsection or something like that, or if you got in an accident or something like that. I forget what the problems were. We made a auxiliary frame that went underneath. We went through a couple different paces basically, but pretty much the money from it went into the Lamborghini line, and theoretically the Lamborghini company went bankrupt. But the Lamborghini company actually created uh, did the first fiberglass body for cars as well, and also did the research for carbon fiber, I believe. That's where we went because I wanted to do a new kind of car, and we started doing work on the first fiberglass body car, all like a unibody car, only fiberglass. And that's where a lot of my money went, and that's why. And then I think we got carbon fiber out of that. They started doing the what's called the fiberglass bodies, but we were using polyester resin, but that wasn't good enough. So eventually, I think we went to the epoxy resin. And there was also the Howard Hughes company, and they were messing around with some propellers, um, and gluing propellers together and making wood propellers, which we did do. And then later on, I think we went with all aluminum or whatever propellers. Anyway, but basically there was a war, and pretty much I bankrolled the war, and not really a war. I mean, basically, pretty much Africa. You know, the king of men and self-proclaimed dark god, black god. Nothing more than a rapist, really, and he was running around basically destroying stuff. He took over like two or three of my factories. Like I built these factories in Europe, and pretty much he went in there and he had his little children warriors waving their little guns around, like forcing the British people to go to work and stuff like that. Like these little 5-year-old, like 8-year-old and 12-year-old kids, basically with guns, that would pretty much shoot people and stuff like that. And he took over this place in Britain where that one bomber bombed that dam or whatever. Um, they took over some anti-aircraft guns, and the little 12-year-old kids shooting down aircraft like, and like he was like, it's a war, blah blah blah, or something like that. Anyway, he was a psychopath, and he was like taking the people and being like, pray to your God and your Lord with the knife, and and basically, he was just going around like he was like, are you the president or leader of this country? Bam, and then he would rape the wife and child. And he was just basically tearing it up, and like then he got a bunch of like 3,000 or 12,000 other black people. They're like, we can take them, and he like rushed Germany and Europe. And anyways, this big war, and like I said, I was pretty much rich and making all kinds of cars and doing really well. And there's this war between us and Africa, basically, and he had some white people on his side or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Um, and they basically destroyed England and Europe basically by just like 200,000 or a million people basically just rushing the city pretty much. And we couldn't gun them down all down, but we gunned down a lot of them. I mean, they're just they're trying to like take the guns and like just rush the cities basically. And pretty much, they died more than us. Like I said, for a while there wasn't anyone in Africa over age of like 15. They were all children because all the adults went in and just basically got killed. Britain and Germany didn't really have as big of a problem with it. But basically, they were rushing the cities and lighting the city. They were just like lighting the cities on fire, and I mean, they didn't give a fuck. They were there to rape the women and basically do as much damage as they could. They hadn't built a car empire. They didn't care. They just were like crazy psychopaths, pretty much, and they besieged us or besieged me. And then years later, they're like, "Oh, it was the Germans, blah blah blah," or "we free," or it's basically it was Africa, and they were crazy psychopaths. They started shooting German shopkeepers, and then they moved on to British shopkeepers, and they were basically just shooting the men, raping the women, and pretty much trying to take over the country. And then they rush Germany and France, and we hold them back there, and then they try and get around, go up and around, and come at Germany from the other side. And pretty much we were already evacuating. It's a Renault. You can go to Renault and ask them, and pretty much their family history. I mean, we left. We went to America. We evacuated the women and children as much as we could, and got them out. And basically, a bunch of people were just rushing their fields, rushing everything. We were shooting them down. Mass hysteria, pretty much. Anyway, though, but basically, and that's why it became this great, big, huge, epic battle between. I was the only inventor and the richest person, and I could, I had that many people and that much manufacturing. And basically they were trying to kidnap Germans or anybody. I think it was after they saw the nukes in Panama, they came up with this idea, or something like that. I don't really know exactly when or where it went fricassee, but basically, pretty much we were fine right up until that point, and then and like Africa something, anyway, it's because Britain and Germany, we built Africa, and then like we were gonna go ahead and let some Africans like basically run a country, run their little neighborhood, run their little place, but then they just like cover yourself in shit and run at the enemy and then rape the girls, like just absolute, like, I mean, it was like evolution people, and they, I was the richest, most manufacturing person out there, and I was fine with giving people raises, and I wanted, problem is people just didn't have that much money. I was worldwide. So when things started going wrong, I was the only one that could be like, all right, we're going to build these tanks, I mean, it's just like with the Titanic. I had 75 mines that were loyal to me and were my mining companies, and basically I was like, all right, we're gonna ship, and just like switched over, like, because basically Africa was coming at us. So I don't want my women to get raped. I don't want my workers to die. We're building SR-71s and doing all this other stuff, and Africa is just like, "Urgh!" And it's like, I don't think so. So we switch over to guns and what's called, and then we beat the Africans back, and I come in with my battleships because I have like 36 or for a whole line, like you see in the films. There's like this whole line. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 battleships all steaming in the same line, and those are all my white battleships. I was the only one that had battleships, really. So when Africa starts just like rushing us, a lot of them die. And then a lot of other people, and then the black Africans try and say that I am a murderer. It's like, you rushed my city. What was I supposed to do? Just sit there and die? I don't think so. I'm not going to, I mean, I'm a pacifist and I'm a great guy, but inventor, manufacturer, but I'm not just going to sit there while some black guy, and then they try and say it's racism. It's like, it's not racism. You're raping women and killing people. Like, so I fucking killed you. I bombed you and shelled you and told my people to shoot you, and that's just the way it is. It's called life. You want to get in a race war, they picked the wrong guy. So, I mean, hey, oh well.